Thanks, Joslyn and Krishore, for coming on today. How are you both?
Good. Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah,
Andrew,
yeah,
for inviting us.
yeah. That's good. Excited,
Yes, hope you both are.
excited and nervous actually.
No
Somehow
need to be
nervous to be
nervous, mate.
talking in front of a screen, but yeah.
Yeah. Where are you both coming from? Are you both in Sydney right now, Australia, or where are you both based in at the moment? Krishore?
Yeah. Well, right now I'm in Brisbane,
Okay.
Australia. So
Okay.
yeah, definitely not as cold as where you're at, Andrew.
No, it's not too bad here. And Joslyn?
Oh, and I'm in a quarantine hotel in Beijing at the
Ah.
moment. Stuff, yeah, but yeah, hopefully I'll be released soon. So yeah.
Mm, mm. And I guess for everyone that doesn't know you, which cohort were you from for the NCP, and like which host countries did you both go to?
Yep. So for me, I was 2018 scholar, and my host country was Taiwan.
Okay.
Similar to Krishore, I was a 2018 scholar, but I went to China.
And as always, we'd always start with a game. It's called Explain the Picture. So instead of me asking you both, tell us a little bit more about yourself, I like to use just pictures, and then both of you can explain, I guess, the story behind the picture, or like what wasn't like obvious during that time, or any funny stories. So yeah, let's get started with that. I think the first one is a picture of both of you. So yeah, Krishore's in the middle right there, and then Jocelyn's there. Yeah. So how did you both meet? And yeah, was it on NCP, or was it like another event or outside of that?
Yeah, it was actually part of our NCP. Well, it was. I mean, it was during the times that we were overseas. So
Yeah.
this is the Australian China Emerging Leader Summit,
Mm.
and that's run by the Australia China Youth Association. And are they in partnership with someone else, or is it mainly them? Yeah, it's just Akia that runs it.
Mm.
Yeah, and so we're just there for about less than a week in Shanghai, and they had the conference there, and that's when I met Jocelyn for the first time, and that's a photo of all the other NCP scholars who were part of the conference at that point in time as well. So it was cool. Yeah.
Mm. Do you remember any? Was there any good memories, Jocelyn, of this night or this day, or
Yeah,
the conference itself?
that was fun. Like, actually, I have a fun story to share about that. We have like a mutual friend,
Mm.
and her name is Karis. And like it was really funny. I remember it was like day 2 or something like that, and I was like just sitting and like talking to my friends, and then suddenly she ran up to me and she was like, "Jocelyn, you've got to meet this guy." And I was like, "Huh? Who's this guy?" And then she was like, "Oh, he's like called Krishore, and he's like super good at dancing." And so like it was kind of the backstory, like
Was not expecting that.
it was like interesting because like Karis and I we used to like go dancing together because she was
Ah.
in Beijing as well. And so when she I think they went clubbing or something like that, like the night before or whatever. And apparently Krishore was an amazing dancer. So Karis was just like, you got to meet this guy. Like he's great. Like, and that's how we kind of like met actually.
Yeah.
Ah. Was
And then I
was
could see
yeah,
Jocelyn's
right?
moves after
For sure.
that as well. What's that? It's got a very unique style. You have to check it out. It's pretty good.
One day, if you go
One
clubbing.
day. Nah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, I'm moving on to the next image. I believe this is Chris Shaw's.
Oh
What's
yeah.
happening here?
Well, this is so there's this program at the university I went to. All right, there's a
Yeah.
preface to this. Like, it wasn't my idea, by the way. But yeah, so there's like this program where you volunteer and you do like weekly Skype sessions with like kids around Taiwan. And so like these are my students that I did weekly Skype sessions to. And the best part about it is that you could actually go on these 1 or 2 day trips to visit like different parts of Taiwan. So this was me visiting them in their local city, which was just in the outskirts of Taipei. And so we just went to a temple. They were showing us around all the cultural activities, and then they were like, all right, let's take a photo. And I don't know whose idea it was. Maybe they saw a lot of like Western influence in their lives, and they're like, let's just dab in front of
You
the
do this
temple.
every day. Like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're like, you know what this is. Yeah. So that's part of that program, which is really cool program that they have in Taiwan.
Ah, awesome. Did you have any questions for Krishore in this photo, Jocelyn?
I mean, honestly, when I first saw this photo, like the first thing that I noticed was the color coordination. And like at first until like
that is very true.
I was like looking at, I was like, oh, the hat, and that's how I saw him. But it was like very well coordinated.
It's like a dance group.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was looking through our photos and I was like, oh, okay, yeah. I was surprised to find this one. I almost forgot about it. Yeah. There we go.
There
That's
it
the story
is.
behind that one. Yeah.
The next one, I believe, is Joslyn's.
Yep. So this is me and a really good friend of mine, Michelle, on the Great Wall. And this was surprisingly the first time that I've been, I was at the Great Wall. And this experience, actually, talking about NCP, was actually like I'd never been to Beijing before, despite the fact that I'd been traveling around China quite some time. I don't know why, but that was just how it kind of turned out. And the reason why I chose this photo was like because of two aspects. One is to prove that in the Chinese colloquial saying, like we always say that like only if you've been to like the Great Wall, then you can call yourself a good person. So this is me proving that I'm a good person.
Okay.
Second reason being to talk about the story between me and Michelle. So I think one of the things that I think NCP is great for is like friendships. And like throughout this entire time, it's like I've met so many amazing people, and Michelle's definitely one of them. And she actually didn't go to the same university as me, whether it's in Australia or in Beijing. She went to Renmin, I went to Peking, but it's like somehow we really bonded. And this was actually like what's not pictured in this photo is like her brother and her mom were actually the ones that were taking this photo for us. Visit, then this is what we did. So yeah, I think NCP definitely at the end of the day, as we talk about like the people to people relationships, also about the people within the program. And like, till today, like Michelle and I are like great friends, and we still keep in touch like every day. So this is like the best thing that I got out of it.
No, definitely. Yeah, I think I've been speaking to other scholars for other episodes, and the thing that I ask them is like, what do you remember the most about your program? It's obviously the people and the friendships that you make. So yeah, 100%. Okay. And the next photo is Krishore.
That's a brilliant segue when we were talking about the people, Andrew. So yeah,
thanks.
Speaking of people, so the guy in the middle, right? So he was actually the first person I ever met when I arrived in Taiwan. So I was coming from Japan, I was traveling to Taiwan, and on the flight next to me, I noticed there was this guy, and he had a Dan Brown novel. So I was like, okay, so he probably speaks like decent English because he's reading a Dan Brown novel. Yeah. So we started talking, and it turns out he just climbed Mount Fuji, and I was like, oh, I actually climbed Mount Fuji as well. And it turns out we both like hiking. And then we just kind of hit it off. And, when I arrived in Taiwan, he actually even gave me a lift to where I needed to go. And from there, the relationship just kind of blossomed. Like he would invite me to hikes. We would go to, he would invite me out to like family outings to like different parts of Taiwan. And it was just like that amazing thing that people always get when they go on NCP is that local generosity and compassion for like someone coming from overseas. And like his family was, so him and his wife, they provided that for me. And like his baby actually wasn't born when I first met him, but like it was sort of like his son was actually born sort of while I was there. So that was a cool experience. And he's also himself. So it turns out he's a doctor at the National Taiwan University Hospital. And he does hemato-oncology, which is like blood cancers. So, and then he also runs ultra marathons, he used to. And so I actually did my first half marathon with him. And this photo here is a first 13K trail run that I did with him as well. And he did the trail run with the baby strapped on in front of him.
I was just going to ask that.
Yeah. So, and that was like exceptional. Like he was, especially the half marathon, he was just way ahead of me. And he's just like, I was still going to the halfway point and he was coming back. And I was like, okay, this guy's on another level. But yeah, it's just showing that, like, it was one of the relationships I really valued during that time there. Yeah.
And do you still hike or like do marathons and stuff, Krishore? in Brisbane?
Yeah, I still actually hike now. So I'm started rock climbing in Brisbane, and like the rock climbing culture is great. It's a great social culture.
Yeah.
And the group of friends that I rock climb with, we also do hikes. So we just did a hike actually yesterday. But I haven't got back into half marathons, and I guess you can't really in COVID times anyway. So
True.
But yeah, something
Interesting to see how that pans out in the future marathons, because there's like so many people around you.
yeah, that's right.
All right, and the next photo, I believe it's Joslyn's.
Yeah. So the reason why I chose this photo, like obviously, this is a photo of a market in Vietnam. I guess to a lot of people it would be like it's kind of irrelevant to like NCP or whatever. But the reason why I chose this photo was actually 6 months into my program. I bought a one-way ticket out of China to Vietnam. And the reason why I did that was I was in a bit of like a weird state. And I think it came down to the fact that like it was like in the winter and like Beijing, like we're finishing up the exams, and like I was like, you know, not in like I guess like the best kind of like mental health state, I would say. And I knew that like, you know, I needed a break from all of this. I couldn't stand a cold. I'm not like a southern girl, like, you know, I couldn't deal with the cold. And so like that's what I did. And I'm so glad I did that, because like it's like two aspects of it. Like it was a solo trip, like, and I always loved solo trips. And so like it was a great way for me to just go somewhere else where no one knew me, there was no expectations. And I would like basically experience something like different. And one thing about like Vietnam was not really like the location of choice. I didn't choose to go to Vietnam, but like I guess Vietnam chose me. Like, and the reason why I'm saying this is because I actually went to I went on Skyscanner and I looked for the cheapest flights out of Beijing, and it just happened that the cheapest one was to Vietnam. I'd actually always wanted to go to Vietnam, but I just never really had a good reason or whatsoever. Because like my grandma actually was from Vietnam, and so because of that reason, like I'd always been interested in like knowing more about, you know, the place, the history, and all that. And I think I left Beijing for a good 2 months altogether, including the time that like I spent around 2-3 weeks in Vietnam. Then I went to Thailand to meet up with Michelle, actually. She was on a yoga retreat, so we just like met up for like a week. And then afterwards, like I flew back to Hong Kong, and then I went to Shanghai, and that's where I met Krishore. So this is why I was like, you know, this is relevant to like this podcast. Yeah.
This market reminds me of a lot of what I see in Taiwan. Taiwan has amazing street food. And was there any good particular food or markets that you saw in Taiwan, Krishore?
Oh, there's just markets everywhere. Like I wouldn't say like it was the healthiest of foods, but it was definitely very delicious, and it's a lot of fried stuff, but there's also a lot of boiled things as well. So there's a good variety, I guess. So like I guess the top picks would be like, you know, you got your fried chicken, like the big that one, and the bubble tea, of course, for sure. Bubble tea is original in Taiwan. So yeah, the brown sugar milk tea. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, stuff like that. This is the basic stuff that any foreigner who goes to Taiwan is like, this is amazing, and then
I'm sure you probably didn't have that before you left for NCP. So now, definitely your taste has changed. So that's good. And the next photo, Joslyn, again.
So the reason why I chose this photo was, so pictured in this photo is actually my boyfriend and me. And the reason why we're in surgical gear is...
this was pre-COVID?
This was pre-COVID, but it was actually, in December 2019. So it was like quite recent still. Like it was just before like everything kind of broke out with like COVID and everything. And the reason why we were in these gears was we were actually in ICU. And like
intensive care unit.
Yeah, so I was thinking for a very long time which photo to choose, because this was actually a very defining moment in my NCP experience, and I guess my China experience as a whole. So in early December, I would say a friend who actually, in hindsight, I don't actually met him once in real life. And he was actually a 60-year-old Lebanese like expat living in Beijing, and he lived there for like around 11 years or so. And how I got to know him was because I'd been ordering like Lebanese food, like hummus and like different things like from him. Like it was kind of like his side business, like business. And then I also introduced my boyfriend to this Lebanese expat. And unfortunately, at the start of December, like he suddenly had a bit of an accident, or I would say it wasn't really an accident, but he had a bit of a health trauma, and he was found by his domestic helper, like unconscious in his house, and he was sent to the hospital, and it was a bit of a scare, and the domestic helper didn't really know who else to call because this Lebanese guy actually didn't know like much Chinese. And so he ended up calling my boyfriend because like my boyfriend had been ordering so many times like, from this guy to the extent that she remembered that he could speak perfect English and also like Chinese. And then I ended up going to hospital as well, like the two of us. And we were told like this news about how he wasn't going to really make it because like the surgery that he had to do was going to cost a lot of money. Like the Lebanese guy didn't really have the money to do it. And so it was, the reason why I'm saying that it was a defining moment was I made like a really, I guess in hindsight, it was like a decision that I wasn't really thought through properly. But my boyfriend and I, we both were like, okay, like, you know, if he doesn't have the money, then let's crowdfund, let's get the money for him. It literally was, I think around 2-3 days of like time. And we end up raising around 450,000 like to help him.
Whoa.
What?
So that was like, and basically because like how the Chinese system works, and it's like you have to pay up front before you get the surgery. And so like for him the time was ticking. So like the sooner we got the money, the faster he would be able to get into the surgery room. And it was a traumatic experience. Like just thinking about it actually now, it was super tiring. Like we were there, I think I didn't sleep for like a good 48 hours because like there was no one else there. Like his family wasn't there. Like he didn't really have a lot of people to take care of him either. So we ended up making this decision. It was the best decision I made in my life because at the end of the day, he was saved and now he's healthy and like he's going about like daily life and everything. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting experience as an expat, and like being able to see how another expat in this scenario, like two things being a defining moment as an expat living in China, and seeing a fellow expat like going through the whole ordeal of being hospitalized and like not having the funds, and like the system where it's like, it's very different from Australia, right? Like if you go to the emergency room and you basically, you have a heart attack and then like afterwards like they figure out that you've got this like big surgery that like, you know, if you don't get it then you're going to die in like a few hours. You'll get the treatment. In China, a lot of people actually we were told by the doctor that they actually don't survive this, and the reason why is because they never get enough money to actually like get that surgery through. So it was pretty much like a miracle. Like I didn't go in, nor did my boyfriend go in, like with the mindset of like, oh, this is like, we're going to definitely get the money. Like we didn't know. And at the time, like the trigger point was really when the Lebanese guy, like he like told us that he didn't want to do the surgery because he didn't have the money. And we'd called his family, we called everyone, and it didn't seem like anyone was able to help at the time. And it was like at that point of like, I guess like the pit of like hopelessness. I guess, I don't know what it was, but something made like both my boyfriend and I realized that like we were in this situation for a reason. And we were the ones called for a reason, despite the fact that I'd only met him once and we'd only been ordering food for him. But it's like moving forward, it's like I learned a lot about, I guess, myself in like a position like this. And I think like the power of the community, and also like the power of like standing together, which is exactly what happened here, because everyone from like my colleagues at Canva to like, like just strangers from like different communities, like everyone chipped in, and that's how we end up like getting this massive sum of money, which allowed him to do like the surgery, covered all his ICU expenses, his like other hospital expenses, as well as hiring like a carer for him for like a good 3 months, like 2-3 months. And it was, I guess, like it's one of these like those kind of experiences which really make it just like has a massive imprint on your life, and makes you reflect on like, how privileged we are to like actually live in a country like Australia, where we've got the healthcare system, we've got the money to support ourselves, and also how privileged I am to actually be on this NCB experience, to be put on the spot, and to actually go through all of this, and yeah, it's definitely made me, I guess, in a way, a more mature person. And like, I guess, touch wood, like hopefully none of this happens ever again, but if it does, like I feel like I do have what it takes to like get through it and like, crowdfund in some way. So that was the reason why I chose this photo.
That's a story and a half.
Yeah, I was curious actually, what do you think made the crowdfunding so successful in the end, like to raise that amount of money for the Lebanese person?
We actually did a lot of things, like within, I think, the first 16 hours of like him being in hospital and then us actually trying to crowdfund, like we actually reached out to media. So we had like news articles out, like to actually like especially in the expat community. So we had quite a few different things that we had to write up ourselves and like, have it posted out. We even had people that were creating posters like to like that would link to like the crowdfunding platform so that people could donate. And also at the time, I guess like the other thing that happened was like I basically helped like send out mass, like, I guess this is the power of social media again. So we're like, I basically use like WeChat, which is the platform in China, to like send out mass kind of like messages to all sorts of groups. So yeah, it was definitely like through different channels that we distributed this message, and everyone around us also like it was quite fast actually, the reaction, like, but everyone showed their support in different ways, like whether it was by actually like coming to the hospital and bring like us food, to like helping us share the like posters, to even like small things like people even on the ground at the hospital, like the doctors were actually extremely like genuine, and they really wanted to help, but it was more due to like, I guess, a system which they didn't really have much power and control over. They were really nice to us, and especially also like the security guards, surprisingly, because in Chinese hospitals they actually don't have chairs, so like everyone has to actually buy their own chairs and like bring it into like the hospital and like sit there if they want to wait for like the doctors or whatsoever. So we obviously didn't have any of that because we were called in like all of a sudden, but the security guards were really nice to us, and they let us sit on the chairs that they were sitting themselves, because they saw like how rough a day we had and like how long we'd been like staying at the hospital. So I guess it's like definitely, again, emphasizing the community power, like everyone chipping in and like doing the thing that they think can like contribute in some way. And I don't think it was because of me. I don't think it was because of my boyfriend. I don't think it was because of us, but I think it was like definitely a collective effort where everyone just really wanted to see the Lebanese guy getting healthy again. And like, I guess it was like almost like some form of hope. Like we all wanted to have that for hope and like believe in like this hope. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that hope definitely started from you and your boyfriend. You believed in like that he would make it through it, and then both of your efforts definitely carried it through. So yeah, that's really amazing.
I think the interesting thing is because I don't think I knew what was going to happen. And it was also, this was a decision made after the doctor had actually told us that the chances of him actually surviving this was very low. But I think it was like more of a moment. It's like when you're next to someone who feels that he's been abandoned by his own family and his friends, you almost feel like it's your responsibility to actually like at least treat him as a decent human being, to give him the love and like give him the respect he deserves, and like give him like almost like a chance. And it's like I didn't know whether my efforts would actually result in him getting better or not, but all I wanted was, regardless of the situation, regardless of what happens afterwards, that at least up to the moment before he goes into the like
operation, surgery room,
he will remember that he was loved, and this was the thing that I guess to me, like, it was like almost like a solace, was that like before he entered the room, like he was smiling, like, and I think that was like what really made me realize that it wasn't actually at the end of the day about, like, obviously I wanted him to get better, but it wasn't about that. It was actually just treating other people with respect, like giving them like a chance, like, you know, giving them the hope. And so, yeah, I think that's why I was like, you know, I feel like, yeah, it's important to be a good human being.
Definitely. And yeah, I can see it definitely from your story, Joslyn, but also Krishore, that, yeah, I think just from your story before, Krishore, and this story in particular as well, I think it just is incredible to see just incredible, talented, amazing people go on the NCP and to touch other people's lives as well as them touching yours. Like, it has so many things have to go. Like, you have to go to that specific shop, or Krishore have to actually be speaking to the man next to him on the plane for all of this to happen. It's a lot of serendipity, but I'm sure that, yeah, I think looking back at it, and that's why I actually really like this, just to look back and to reflect in some capacity of like what you've done. So incredible stuff. Okay, let's shall we go on to the next photo?
Yeah.
I believe this one's Joslyn as well. This one's a little bit, yeah, more. yeah.
So this is actually it was like a Canva annual party. So I work for Canva in their Beijing office, and I think this was around November last year. And it was definitely a fantastic experience, and it comes back down to like how NCP actually prepared me to go into like a company like Canva in a foreign country in Beijing, and working in a language that is not my mother tongue. And as you can see in this photo, like like Canva has a culture of like loving, like, you know, we're really good at celebrating and reflecting on our successes, as well as like, I guess, learning from our, you know, learning about things that we can do better on. And you can see me at the front. I actually had a great experience because I was actually the MC for like this like event. And we were really lucky because we were joined by some of our Sydney colleagues, like including Mel and Cliff, and like several other people. And I joined Canva actually back in I think May 2019. I first started out as an intern, and it was kind of like an interesting road that I kind of took, because I didn't actually plan on staying at Canva and like now working full time. Like that was definitely never part of my plan. And I was always thinking that, like, you know, I'm going to make the most out of my NCP experience. I'm going to go to different countries, like, you know, go do different internships. And like Krishore, I was actually planning to go to Infosys in Bangalore. So like that was like the plan. So I realized that I had a 3-month gap in terms of like internship. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll just do something in Beijing. And like, you know, like I'd been studying at Peking University for a while, but I definitely wanted to have like a more authentic, I guess, localized experience. And like, I thought, what better way than to work for a company that I really admire, like Canva, as well as it being in Beijing, like, and like working in Mandarin. So what I did was I actually reached out to the CEO and
Melanie Perkins.
Sorry?
Melanie Perkins.
No, I reached out to the China CEO. So
China CEO. Yeah.
And Robin was really, really nice. I reached out to him on LinkedIn actually, and I cold called him. I was just like, hey, I'm Joslyn, and I just want to see whether I could do an internship at Canva. Well, I wasn't expecting anything, I guess. Like it's just kind of who I am as a person. I just like sometimes I'm a bit YOLO in that sense. And so that's what I did. He actually replied, and we met up. And we really got along, and we could actually see how I guess like it would be at least for me, that's what I thought. It was like it would be a beneficial experience to be a part of Canva. And I guess like Robin, he was really, he's a great boss, and like he was asking me to join full time, like, so it was kind of like on the table, like on the first day. But for me, I was very keen. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that, because like I want to go to Infosys, I want to go to Bangalore, I want to like do all these cool things. And then fast forward, like it was just like I ended up joining Canva, and I've stayed, and it's been a very, very great experience. And I think it's like one of the best things, apart from what I talked about before, like friendships, like that I actually got out of like the NCP experience. And like it went from me being from the beginning, like, first 6 months, not liking Beijing, wanting to leave so much, to coming back to Beijing, and then like doing my second semester, and then eventually finding work and like just staying there. And like now Beijing is pretty much like my third home. And I can't say that my Mandarin is like amazing or whatsoever, definitely not. Still my third language, and I still think that there's like room for improvement. But I'm glad that I got this experience to work at Canva, because it really challenged me to the core in terms of like my language abilities, because the working language is Mandarin, and I have to like face a lot of clients that are not, I guess if for instance I was not able to like communicate properly, they won't be as forgiving as for instance my colleagues. So this really pushed me to like work on my language abilities and like improve my Mandarin as fast as I could. And the second thing, it challenged me because I actually come from a non-technical background, so my background's in humanities. And going into a role like currently in Canva, where I focus on both traditional BDs, so business development, as well as like technical partnerships, and mainly doing like working with engineers to actually build out certain features and like delivering it to clients. Like all of this was very new to me, and I couldn't have asked a better way to do it than to be in a foreign country working for like an Australian company, and still be doing it till today. So yeah.
Well, it will be very interesting to know if you took the other route of going down, joining Infosys. So, Krishore, what did Joslyn miss out on?
Well, we definitely didn't have an annual party like this, so maybe we shouldn't miss out.
It's much more wild, I'm sure.
No, it's actually very interesting because I know I've sort of seeked a lot of guidance from Joslyn sort of throughout my NCP program, and sort of like choosing like with a lot of decisions in our place before us, and just like bouncing off each other. And so there's really like this kind of two main ways, right? You can look about it. It's like, sort of really just focus in on one area and just go down that path, and you really specialize and you build those relationships within that one domain. And that just really accelerates how you progress and the learning you experience through that, right? And I guess that was what Joslyn wasn't expecting to do, but it's what like you ended up doing. And it's like, it's working out amazingly. And so I took the other route actually, because I still felt like coming into NCP, like I did have an idea of like, okay, I want to work in like the robotics thing, but I still knew there was a lot of stuff in engineering that we could try out. And so I took the completely other end of the spectrum, and I was like, I'm going to try out as many things as I can, as humanly possible, like squeeze into NCP and get as a much of a perspective on what really is out there. Like once I graduate from university. So yeah, I guess Infosys was one of those internships. It is really great. Like, it's really well funded. If you do a technical project, I do believe it's very good for that, because they have good mentors and good projects for that. And yeah, it's an opportunity. It's like a very cultural experience. The campus is great. Like, accommodation is great. Food is great. You might have to worry a bit about food in India. Just be careful a bit. But generally, like, once you get past that initial hurdle, food is great. And so yeah, so I did other internships as well. I can talk about that later if you wanted to do the photos first.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Next photo. Is this Joslyn's or Krishore's? I cannot remember.
No, it's Joslyn's. Yeah.
Joslyn's. Yeah.
Last one.
Been talking too much, but I guess.
Nah, go for it. I love these stories. You can take the stage. I'm just gonna.
So the reason why I chose this photo was that, like, I wanted to kind of highlight, I guess, the third part that I feel like the NCP experience, like, really adds value to. And this photo was actually taken in a place called Changbaishan. And so it's like actually it's like at the border between China and North Korea. And it's actually it's a not self-governing, but it's like autonomous region where like a lot of people living there are actually North Koreans. And it's basically shared between like the Cradle Lake, which is like I guess a mythical, like it has mythical and also like I guess spiritual importance to people in North Korea. And this was actually on a trip that I took, I think, in April last year. And it was supposed to be two-part, where one was like doing this hike like in the snowy mountains. It was like snowing crazily. And then the second part was actually doing a marathon, which I unfortunately couldn't do because I'd actually sprained my ankle before going on this trip. But I was like, oh, I really want to go. Like, you know, this is a lifetime experience. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to leave my moon boot at home and just pretend everything's fine. Do not recommend anyone that's listening to this. Do not do what I did.
Yeah, Justin said YOLO, yeah.
Everything again. But luckily, I survived the trip. And it was an amazing experience because it really opened my eyes to what, like, you know, China is, I guess. It's like, you know, people think that China is like just this massive country with like a monoculture, like where it's like, you know, you speak Mandarin and that's it. But like, no, actually it's like a very diverse country with like so many different like elements to it, different parts, different landscapes, different cultures, different languages. And this is just like to highlight the experiences that I got to have in China, like just like traveling. This place in particular took 8 hours of train riding plus 2 hours of a bus ride to get to, and it was one of the most beautiful places I've actually been to because it's quite untapped at the moment. Like it's not really, they're trying to build up the tourism industry, but it's like it's still very slow, so a lot of the things are still quite I guess undeveloped, but it really allowed me to have a chance to experience the culture there, experience you know, the landscape, and more importantly, talk to people like North Koreans who were very hospitable and willing to share with me like the cuisine. I got to try out a lot of like really delicious food there, as well as like talk to them about their experience. And like, you know, we learned that apparently a lot of Chinese people actually go to North Korea, Korea, like quite often to do business. And like, you know, it's not as what the Western media would usually portray, like just the dictator that is like, you know, in that way. It's like, it's very different. It's like, you know, there's actually like other things to like, you know, China and like, I guess North Korea in this, like, in this instance. And I was really lucky throughout NCP to be able to do a lot of traveling within China. And like some of the places, including Chiang and like, you know, Chengdu, and then I met Krishore in Shanghai, and then like there's like all these different places. It was like, you know, it's a great place. And if anyone's considering applying for NCP, I guess it's like local travel. It should be the main consideration, but it definitely is an advantage, and definitely gives like, you know, it helps spice up your like whole NCP experience. And like I can't recommend it enough in terms of like getting to know like, you know, a different culture and like, you know, a country like China. So
Wow. I am at the same time jealous, extremely jealous of all of your experiences, and just at awe about everything that you've both done. Thank you for sharing your stories. I think we will just end it there for the time being.